Welcome to Bet On. I am Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas. This is the divisional playoff round. I'm excited. We only have 4 games today, so we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're just going to break down all 4 games, and then each of us are going to give a best bet. Let's bring in our 2 guys, Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas, Gianni Corrales at Greek_Gambler. All right, guys, have any words about the weekend? It looks like we went a little 3-0 on best bets.
Yeah, Kelly.
I'll dive right in. Go ahead, Marco. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead,
you go. You go.
The best bets were great for us, and I ended up having a good weekend for subscribers. It's been a good start to the year, a good start to the playoffs. Anytime you're ahead, I don't think I did well with the Steam play loss on the show. The teaser, I said don't bet it. I didn't bet. We hit our teaser, not the one on the show. I picked different teams for the teaser. I had a decent weekend, but I'm more excited, to be honest with you, with this weekend's games. But here's what I'm going to do. I'll lay it out right here. We said for the format for the show, we're going to go over each game. We're going to give out a best bet that we have. Now, as we go through each game, if you want to give a pick, give a pick. If you want to give an opinion, give an opinion. Whatever you want to do, it's on you. What I'm going to do is this. As before I looked at the lines, I made my own lines. When I looked at the lines, I decided what I liked. I circled the side and the total for every single game, and I bet a nickel 8-team parlay. That's what I did. And I was hoping as the groups that I work with come in, hopefully they confirm some of these. Now, obviously, wise guys don't bet every single playoff game. They may be on 1 game, 2 games at the most this weekend. But I'm going to end up having a bet on every single game. I love the playoffs. I think there's many opportunities to profit, whether it's side totals, first half team totals. It's that kind of market. The influx of the saturation of recreational money just makes it a free-for-all for value. So I love the postseason. But I do not want to lead anyone down the wrong path. So I gave out 2 premiums so far this week to my subscribers. I'm going to share them on the show. My guys don't care. They'll get more than enough volume by the time the weekend's over. It doesn't matter that I give these 2 away. And I'm going to give you the best bet as well. As we're going through, I'm going to tell you where I lean. Now, if you want to conclude it's a pick, that's on you. You want to bet it, fade it, follow it, ignore it, that's on you. I'm giving one best bet, and that's it. I'm telling you is a premium, and I'll share the ones I gave out. After that, I'll share all the info I can, and hopefully you guys could uncover some winners. Again, I don't want to mislead, and I realized from last week that, and please don't take this the wrong way, that we take for granted that everyone watching is at the same level of betting as we are, or we expect them to be. And they may not see things the way we just automatically do. And it's not an insult to them. I've been doing this for 25, 30 years. You're just going to speak things and see things differently than someone that's done it for 6 months, a year, 2 years. It's not their fault. So to protect them from themselves, and it's not an insult, again, to protect you from yourself, I'm not going to confirm this is a bet, this is a pick, and have you unload your hard-earned money if I didn't back it with my own. I'll tell you what I backed, and I'll tell you what I didn't. But I don't like people losing money when they don't have to. And when I have gold to offer, I don't want you picking up bronze off the ground and thinking I gave it out, because I didn't. I'm going to give you gold or nothing at all. Thank you.
Very nice PSA. VR, appreciate that. Always listen to what everybody's saying. You guys, we go through tons and tons of games all season long. Obviously, there's only 4 games this week, but just know if somebody says, hey, I don't really love this game, that maybe you should be looking to just stay away. Marco had himself a kick-ass weekend. Marco, your thoughts? And the dogs were barking, so you know that I was able to piggyback on a few of those.
Absolutely, Kelly. In that Washington game, to cap off Saturday night, that was fun to watch them get the cover there. It was a great weekend, Kelly. Knock on wood, 2021 has been, just nothing short of spectacular so far. Football, college, and pro, 13-2 for 2021. And I'm guessing maybe I know VR probably would guess this one, but we'll see how old you are, Kelly, if you can get it. 2021, my favorite player of all time, Pittsburgh history, wore number 21. So maybe that's why this year's been so good to me. I'll give you the sport, the Pirates. Who's the greatest Pirate to wear 21? Yeah, you're too
put me on
young.
the spot. Baseball.
I know you're too young, Kelly. Roberto Clemente.
I was getting ready to say he got killed in a plane crash.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I knew this. I couldn't remember his name. I'm sorry that I only remember the tragic events around his death. But yes, I did know that somehow, some way, because 21 is my favorite number. So let's hope we have this 21 train rolling. Let's get right in to the Saturday games. L.A. Rams at the Green Bay Packers. Now this one's kicking off at 4:35 Eastern time. The Packers coming off that number 7 down to 6.5. Total 45.5 on our Wager Talk odds screen. Marco, I'm going to go to you first here. Let's talk about A, that coming off that key number of 7. And B, let's talk a little fun stuff. And maybe this is more of a TNA with Ralph Michaels. But we know that Aaron Rodgers loves that cold weather. I kind of have my concerns about this LA team going into Green Bay in January.
Yeah, Kelly, and I'm glad you talked about the coming off the key number of 7, because I want to do just a little handicapping lesson 101, and I'm sure when I'm done, Ace can confirm this. If you remember last week when we talked about the Steeler-Cleveland game, you know, and that's still pretty sore spot with me right now, and Mike Tomlin, I'm sure you heard me yelling Sunday night when the 4th and 1 at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, you know, they almost asked me to leave the bar that I was at when I was screaming at the TV, but that's for another day. But when we talked about that game, and I asked Ace in that one, and it's something that I've always used as an indicator for me. When you look at a game and you're talking about a team that is a public team, and there's no question, Pittsburgh Steelers, they're one of the most public teams in the NFL. Well, maybe even bigger than the Pittsburgh Steelers as far as a public team in the NFL would be the Green Bay Packers, the history and everything else there. You're sitting on a number of 7. This is what the number come out at. And the first number that you see, the movement on this game, is we go to 6.5. And the first thing you said when you set us up on this game, Kelly, is what about that cold weather? You got it, you know, the LA, the surf team, you know, they're coming in from the beach, and Jared Goff, which looks like he should be on the beach. We always talk about how soft he is and everything else. Why did this number, the first initial buy, go to 6.5? I can tell you with 100% certainty that the Green Bay Packers will be the most teased team this week. Okay, the books are going to need the Rams because of all of the money line parlays on Green Bay, all of the teasers for the Packers just to win at Lambeau. The temperature is going to be in the 20s, you know, during the game, all of that. And yet we saw this number come down. And the reason I say that that's important, because the sharps know where the public's going to go. They know that they're going to bet Green Bay. Yet they didn't want to wait. They jumped in just like they did last week on Cleveland. And that's what scared the hell out of me with the Browns last week is, you know, they didn't worry about, you know, hey, let's wait till Sunday till the public gets involved and get the maximum number. No, they went in there and fired early in the week. And they did the same thing here with the Rams. So to me, I really, really respect that move on the Rams. And then, Kelly, you know me. I've said it a million times. Give me the better defense, getting points, and that's going to be the narrative here. This Rams defense is ferocious. They single-handedly won that game last week. It wasn't Jared Goff that won the game. It was the Rams defense. They shut down Seattle. They flipped the field. They got short fields, and they just won the war of attrition in that game. Can they do that 2 weeks in a row? We'll see. We've talked about the running game, that Green Bay, their weakness, if there is an Achilles heel to this team, it's stopping the run. Well, last week, the Rams running game was pretty damn good, okay? If they can duplicate that, the Rams can stay in this game. The bigger issue for me, and we've got a couple things to look at as far as injuries go. We don't know officially who's going to quarterback again. McVay is doing the same thing he did last week. He wants them to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. That's smart on his part. The one concern I do have with Goff, he's just 3 weeks removed from thumb surgery. I don't know if you've ever broken any bones, Kelly, or whatever, but you came from the Midwest. I came from cold weather. When you have a broken bone, anything, when you hit the cold weather, even, years afterwards, you feel those changes. This is a fresh injury for him. He is going to feel that cold. Now, granted, they'll do whatever they can do to get him through the game, but when it's a thumb, you can't really inject it, numb it, because it's his throwing hand. If it was his non-throwing hand, yes, but he's got to be able to grip the football. So there might be some problems there. And then with, cold weather in footballs, you also get sometimes if the football kind of freezes over a little bit, it becomes a little bit slick and, hurts the grip a little bit too as well. You can use a glove, but a lot of quarterbacks don't like using gloves on their throwing hand and so forth. But we'll see how that goes. But for me, the narrative of the first bye with the line, the old adage of me with the defense, and the key injury is Aaron Donald. If he can't go, if he's not 100%, then you really got to reconsider the Rams, because he is the heart and soul of that defense, and he is what will put the pressure on Aaron Rodgers. But I'm assuming he's going to play, and I am looking at right now, the Rams plus the points. You're seeing solid 6.5 across the board. That's where I'm at. Curious to hear if Ace has seen anything in the accounts.
Yeah, I'm curious as well, because somebody obviously played the Rams early, even though we weren't 100% on Aaron Donald, even though we don't know who's going to be the quarterback here. I don't think it's going to be as cold as everybody makes it out to be. I mean, it's Sunday afternoon in Green Bay. It's going to get cold by the second half, but this is
4:30, Kelly. This game starts at 4:30 kick. The sun's going to go down.
That's very true.
It's dark in Vegas at 4:30.
Yes, it is, unfortunately. VR, what are your thoughts on this game? Marco and I love this old adage, take the better defense plus the points. And we did last week, but Aaron Rodgers, man, has been a man on a mission here. And I have down a potential teaser, even though we axed the teaser segment this week, and Green Bay is one of those legs. What are your thoughts on moving off the 7? Who do you like in this game? And do you think Green Bay is worth a teaser position here?
The first answer, I think Green Bay on a teaser makes a ton of sense. They're a team playing at home in the playoffs, who wins there historically, who's coming in off a bye week, and is playing a team who is now playing their second straight road game in the playoffs. At Seattle and now at Green Bay, 2 of the toughest venues in all of sports. And you're asking them to beat them outright twice. Beat Seattle, now go over there and beat Green Bay also as big underdogs. So, of course, it makes sense to look at Green Bay on a teaser. I haven't done it. I can't blame anyone that has. It makes sense. If I have to say what the steam side has been so far, I don't think it's the Rams. I think it's the under that got the steam. Under 47 is what I saw come in. That's where the groups came in. They went under 47, under 46.5, and a little late under 46 by the piggybackers. That's why you're looking at 45.5 right now. I still think at minus 110, it's probably still positive EV, but I'm not convinced enough to where I released it to my subscribers. I haven't piggybacked it to release to subscribers, but I do agree with the under because of just how good this Rams defense is. They are legit. The key is going to be, you got to look at the injury report. Is Donald going to play? If he doesn't play, there's going to be trouble bringing pressure. But we've also seen the Rams bring pressure without him. I mean, this defense is legit. They're for real. They are one of the best defenses. So Green Bay's going to have some problems. It will not be as easy as it's been all year. They have the #1 scoring offense in all of the NFL, but they played some pretty poor pass defenses throughout the year. If you look at the analytics, they did not play, a murderer's row of secondaries and safeties and cornerbacks. This case, you're looking at 3 cornerbacks for the Rams that are top 20 in all of the NFL. That's why I think you saw a lot of that sharp money come in on the under, not even worried about whether the weather's going to be good or bad. And for Green Bay, it's not going to be all that atrocious. I mean, if it isn't below 0, it isn't windy and snowy, it's not too bad for football weather. I agree with the Rams side. Here's why I think that I wouldn't go as far as saying I agree with the Rams side. Let me rephrase that. I see why the line went towards the Rams, because power rating wise, it's very difficult to get to Green Bay -7. I mean, I just don't see it. Even if you factor in the bye week, even if you factor in that, Rams had to travel to Seattle, now have to travel to Green Bay, I don't think you could get the -7. I think power rating wise, most wise guys' power ratings would probably reflect around 3 or 4 points. I think everything else is, I don't know if it's even warranted. That's why I think the value's on the Rams, because I'm not sure having the bye, having to do the traveling back to back, having the possible injuries. Now, even Cooper Kupp's not 100%. All those issues, I'm not sure, get me to -7, -110. So that's why I see the move, because again, 3 and 7 are so key. So that's why I think we saw the sharp money come in on the Rams. My number makes it a lot shorter. I like the Rams. I also agree with the under. I not enough to release 45.5. I'm hoping some over money comes in. That'll probably be the case. Look at the first half under, because, you don't want to get beat with junk points and, Rodgers, a lot of things could happen late. But I lean Rams, I lean under, and that's the info that I could share for that game.
All right, let's move on to the late game on Saturday, Baltimore at Buffalo. Buffalo is now a 2.5-point favorite pretty much across the board on the WagerTalk odds screen, total of about 50. Now, this one, VR came down from 3, 2.5 to 2 for a brief moment in time, went back to 2.5. Did you see anything played? And honestly, this is like one of my favorite games this week, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut, save it for my best bet. I'm really curious to see where both of you guys end up here.
Haven't seen wise guy money steam this game. None of the guys I work with have bet this into the accounts. None of the guys I trade with sent me anything on this game. Here's what I did already. I already have Baltimore at +8.5 from the national championship game with Alabama. I even had released that to my subscribers because I just thought that line, Baltimore getting that many points to me looked way too good. And it was coupled with the bad weather that was expected there. That's why this total hasn't flown up. When you look at Baltimore versus Buffalo, you would think this total would be up to 54 by now. But bad weather, and more importantly, wind and snow was the forecast. As the week is progressing, though, it's starting to seem it's not going to be as bad. That's why you haven't seen the steam bring this down to 49, 48, like the game in Green Bay. Otherwise, I think this under would have got heavily steamed already by that bad weather information. The fact it didn't makes me think this is an over game, that even with word of bad weather, even with wind conditions expected to be awful, atrocious, and snow, we didn't see that steam. In fact, we saw the opposite. We saw 49.5s go to 50s and 51s and 50.5s. So to me, that's a telling sign. Again, listen, man, no one that wins long-term is going to share with you their secret sauce, as they say, meaning there's a couple of stats and data points I've uncovered in MMA that are predictive. I'm never going to share them unless I stop betting and then share them. Obviously, who would share that and lose their edge? But you should gain some from what we say. And this, like talking about what happened with that Alabama line, how it moved. I talked about that Monday. I hope a lot of you picked up enough to carry that as actionable information and find some winners in the future when you see that exact line move, because it means what I said it meant. And here, this one is a big telling sign as far as I won't bet this game under. It's over or nothing at all. And I already have Baltimore plus 8.5. Scary though, because Buffalo is playing so well. And offensively, they're just so dominant. But they're one-dimensional. Let's not forget, they pass. If you're able to shut that down, no one's been able to do it. But if you do, what is the plan B? Other than the quarterback rushing, I'm not sure they have one. If Baltimore could stifle that passing game a little bit, I think they're live. Also, they're an offense that could score. That leaves the back door open for my plus 8.5. That's why I think that has a ton of value. As far as betting it now at plus 2.5, I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm even considering Bills money line for like half of my teaser bet, because the more I look into this game, the more I'm starting to see that Buffalo right now, they played so bad last week. If you look through that box score and they still won that game the way they did, I don't think they could play that bad again. And if they play a good game, it's going to be hard for Baltimore to win on the road. This is their third straight road game. You're asking a lot from Baltimore to do as a small dog. As a big dog on a teaser, very attractive. As a small dog, not so much. That's my take on the game.
Yeah, I'm with you, VR. That is definitely a team that I am putting in a teaser. Marco, VR mentioned how you beat the Bills. One thing that I've noticed about this Bills team, whether I bet on or against them, is that they have a ton of trouble stopping the run. Your thoughts on whether the Ravens are a live dog? Again, I'm with VR. The plus 8 is what I have, plus 8.5. You guys can get right now. I should have just waited. That being said, I do think that the Ravens keep this one competitive.
Yeah, as far as the teaser goes, Kelly, this is the traditional, plus EV teaser. There's no question about that. And, yeah, if I was holding it, a plus 8.5 in my pocket, I wouldn't feel bad about that. And VR said, you can always money line, Buffalo as well and come up with a nice middle. What I'm looking at with this game, Kelly, and last week, Indianapolis was a very big game for me. And I tell you what, I think I aged 5 years watching that game, because Indianapolis did everything they possibly could to give that game away. And, they did. They lost the game, but thank God they covered the spread. That's the great equalizer. And one of the main reasons why last week that I was so high on Indianapolis was, Buffalo was in uncharted waters. They finally broke through, won the division. They had the second best record in the AFC, the number 2 seed. Everything was rolling. And you think, oh, hey, that's great. They're minus, a decent number at home. This is a team, just go ahead and, get the job done the way they've blown people out down the stretch. Everything was all, sunshine and rainbows. But you know what? The pressure was on this team because they did so well. Now they're expected to do more. And Kelly, I'm going to flash back to college football for a second. And if you remember conference championship weekend, both you and I were going big against Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. And the reason for that, now that game got canceled because of COVID. But the reason we were doing that was because as good of a year as it was for Coastal Carolina, all of the pressure was on them. If they go out and lose the conference championship game, everything they did meant nothing because they were done. They didn't win their conference. The same thing would have happened to Buffalo last week. All the pressure in the world. Think back a few years ago in baseball. Seattle had a magnificent season. They won over 100 games, and then they were out of the playoffs in the first round. It just ruins everything because all of the pressure's on you. But now that Buffalo got that initial win, Kelly, they are free rolling now. They got the win. It's been so long since Buffalo has had a playoff victory. You saw the fans. They only let, I think, 6,700 in, but it was Bills Mafia, and they were loud, about 6,700 people. They were excited about this team. And the thing about, to allude to one thing that A said that is true, but I'm going to tell you why it's also a benefit. Buffalo, yeah, they struggled running the football this year. It was all about Josh Allen throwing the football. The one thing that he does, and that's what was the difference in the game against Indianapolis, is if you have a team that doesn't run the football well, but passes the football very well, you're setting up your defense to stop the pass. He is a guy that is not afraid to take the ball and run when the play is not there, as opposed to a Lamar Jackson where most of his runs are designed runs. So you can figure your defense and prepare for that. You cannot prepare for Josh Allen when he's going to run the football. That's why we talked about, and we beat him to death a couple weeks ago, but Jared Goff had so many times that if he just ran the damn football 2 weeks ago against Seattle, they win that game easily, because Seattle, when you break containment, they're not prepared for it, and you can get big plays. Josh Allen is very deceptively good running the football. He doesn't do it all the time, but when he does, they're big plays and they're backbreakers, because they're 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s that you think you've got them ready to punt, and they keep the drive alive. I like Buffalo in this one here. Baltimore played a great game last week. Let's not forget, man, they wanted that game. That was double revenge. Tennessee, the classlessness of the first meeting, dancing on the logo, when they beat Baltimore in Baltimore. All these guys, I know every time I say that on Twitter, somebody tells me I'm showing my age. I don't care. Get off my lawn if that's the case. Have some class when you're playing. Does anybody not just hand the football to the referee anymore? Larry Fitzgerald was one of my favorite players from college football at Pitt. I saw him do spectacular things at Pitt. Same way at Arizona. I've never seen him celebrate a touchdown. It's always hand the ball to the referee. But I think Baltimore here is going to have trouble stopping this Buffalo attack. And if they fall behind, Lamar Jackson in his running game, becomes, rendered useless. You got to now throw the football. And I am still not convinced and Lamar Jackson can do that and carry a team on his shoulders with his arm. Josh Allen has done that. He won't win the MVP because there's bigger names like Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. But I'm going to tell you what, there's nobody that's meant more to their team this year than Josh Allen. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Buffalo here. I think they get the job done again. I like the Bills. But, again, that 8.5 is always going to be sitting out there for that back door on that teaser. So I can't make any – I can't stick a fork in anybody's teaser there.
All right, Marco, let's just hope maybe the game lands one. I mean, VR said he liked Buffalo money line. All jokes aside, guys, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, some TNA with Ralph Michaels.
Every Monday at WagerTalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com and our sister site, SportsMemo.com. Get $25 in WagerBucks added to your account after your first purchase at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the WagerTalk and SportsMemo family.
Welcome back to Bet On. It is time for the Sunday divisional games. Let's start off with everybody's favorite darling, the Cleveland Browns at the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City was a 10-point favorite, now pretty much 9.5 across the board, total 56. This one's going to be really interesting, Marco, because as you alluded to, the Cleveland Browns got off to a crazy start. They scored more points in the first quarter than any team in NFL playoff history, thanks to your quarterback, Big Ben. He had a couple of mistakes. They were able to capitalize. I kind of starting to feel like Cleveland may be a trendy dog this week. I do also think this line's a little inflated because The bookmakers know that Kansas City is going to be in everyone's teaser if they drop this one below 8.5. So your thoughts on this game? I haven't really made a decision yet. Of course, I was leaning towards Cleveland initially just because we know you were paying a premium for teams named the Kansas City Chiefs.
No question, Kelly. And you know what? This is one of those games where you can make narratives both ways. Let's start with the obvious, okay? Did Cleveland, no other way to do it. Last week was historic for them. It's been so long since the Cleveland Browns have won a playoff game. It was so long since they won a game in Pittsburgh, 17 years to be exact. They played the game without their head coach, without their offensive line coach. They had a guy, the offensive coordinator, calling plays that never did that before. Everything that was stacked the deck against Cleveland, they overcame all of that. And yes, they got that 28-0 lead. Yes, the Steelers, on the first offensive play of the game, handed the Cleveland Browns a touchdown when one of the best centers of all time, Pouncey, sends it over Big Ben's head. Not only does he send it over his head, 20 yards over his head, back to the goal line, and Cleveland recovered in the end zone. Everything that could go right for Cleveland did. But with all of that said, Kelly, and I talked about it at the beginning of the show, at the end of the third quarter, when it was 4th and 1, and he decided to punt Mike Tomlin. And granted, I was texting nonstop with Brian Leonard during the game, our Cleveland buddy. And I told him, if I was losing my mind when Tomlin punted, they had all the momentum in the world. And if they convert and score and make that a one-possession game, then all of a sudden, the old backsides of Cleveland tightens up tighter than a drum because all of that history starts to come into play. It creeps into the back of your mind. You had a 28-point lead, and all of a sudden it's a one-possession game with almost all of the fourth quarter to play. And Tomlin didn't do that. He punted, and then Cleveland went the length of the field on a touchdown drive. Was it because Cleveland was the better team? Maybe. But was it that whenever he punted the football, Tomlin took the air out of his own team, the Pittsburgh Steelers? And I think that's what happened. For this game, we saw something last week. I talked about it on the national championship game on Monday. I said, even though it's the national championship game, it is going to be hard for Ohio State to match the same intensity that they did against Clemson, because they wanted Clemson. There was no question about that. They had the sign up in their locker room for final score from last year. Then you had the deal with the coach, Dabo Swinney, saying they were the 11th ranked team. Everything was there, and they had the perfect game, and they won it. How do you pick yourself back up off the mat after such a satisfying win and have that same intensity the next week? And you're playing for the national championship. I think the same thing is on the table here with playing Kansas City. Yes, this is the playoffs. Nobody's going to come in flat. But how can you match that intensity? You had everything against you. Now, you'll have players back, coaches back, whatever. It just, to me, I think it looks too easy to take Cleveland. And then let's not forget, as good as Kansas City is, and they got the best record in the NFL, they got the worst record of all the playoff teams against the spread. How many have they lost in a row? They had the push, or maybe the late line. They might have got a half-point cover against the Saints game, but they keep winning and not covering, defying the odds. I just think this is one of those games that concerns me about Cleveland. And if you look at their defense and look at them down the stretch, Kelly, of who they've played and what they've given up, this is a team that's given up a lot of points. They gave up 25 to Jacksonville, 35 to Tennessee, 47 to Baltimore on that Monday night shootout. Then they held the Giants to 6. Okay, the Giants were just, regardless, pitiful offensively all year. But they gave up 23 to the Jets. Granted, they had some players out for COVID in that game. But then 22 to Pittsburgh with all the backups. Mason Rudolph at quarterback. And then last week, they still gave up 37 points to Pittsburgh. Granted, Pittsburgh had to throw on every down, virtually after the first quarter, but still, their defense is not sound. I think Kansas City's sitting on a breakout game, and I think, unfortunately, I hate to use the cliche, they look bored during the regular season. Do they hit that magical light switch for the playoffs? And if they get out to a big lead here, I don't see them taking their foot off the gas. It's square for me, but I'm on Kansas City.
VR, when we were starting the show, well, before we started the show, we were talking about a couple of these games, and you had mentioned, hey, I know Marco's on Kansas City. You and I were both talking about Cleveland. Marco makes some really good points there. I just don't trust this Kansas City team. My problem is this. We know that they can turn that switch on, but the question is when. And in this situation last year, I had the Texans in the first half, and they were up 24-0, and I felt so great about my Texans first half ticket, and somehow I lost it. I think I had plus 3.5. I think it ended up being 28-24 at half, and I was sitting there with a WTF look on my face. So it does concern me when stepping in front of this Kansas City freight train, but they have yet to cover their last 8 games. I believe they're 0-7-1 against the spread. I know that bookmakers are charging a premium, but help me sift through this. What do you agree with, Marco, in terms of Kansas City? What do you disagree with?
Number one, that's the question. Has this team been playing possum? You know what I mean? Can they just flip the switch and turn it on and go out there and light it up? They did it last year with Houston. Great example. And more importantly, rest assured, if Cleveland goes up 7-0, 10-3, 14-7, you're going to see more sharp money, public money on KC than you've ever seen in your entire life. Sportsbooks, brace yourselves, because KC's one of those teams. I don't know if many of you remember, if you were betting then when a few years ago when Golden State was so dominant. I don't know any sharp on the planet that didn't not watch with their eyes, but at least their phone checked the score of every Golden State game at the end of the first quarter, end of the first half. If they were down, you were betting them live in game because they were coming back. And has been what Kansas City's done, at least in the past historically. I don't know if this year's version is capable of doing that. I haven't seen it so far this year, Kelly. We all expect them to be able to do it. Why is this line so high? Power rating wise, I don't think it should be this high. You look at Kansas City. They haven't been covering spreads of this kind of number. They've been a 10-point favorite or greater 5 times this year. You've lost money back in them. They're 2-3. They've even lost the game outright. So it's not as if they're the version of Kansas City last year, the year prior, where during the regular season, they're not only 14-2 straight up, they're also 12-4 ATS. This is a little different version. Now, can they flip that switch on? Maybe. It sets up nicely, doesn't it? You have Andy Reid and Mahomes and Kansas City off a bye. I'm sure there's a ton of trend guys out there loving Kansas City because of that. You have Cleveland, who, like Marco said, was that their big game? Is this their letdown spot now? Personally, I don't think so. Letdown in the playoffs? I don't know. He didn't. I'm not to put words in Marco's mouth. He didn't say letdown. He said that was their, kind of the game that they circled. Like for Ohio State, they circled the Clemson team, and for Cleveland, they circle the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the difference with those two games, and listen to me, it's going to take a second, is that Cleveland, although they were dominant early, Pittsburgh put a scare in them to where Cleveland had to continue playing just about for 60 minutes. It wasn't like that for Ohio State. By halftime, Ohio State was already lighting up cigars and we're the greatest, and Fields was already talking to his agent about, how much should I hold out for? So it's a little different scenarios. I'll tell you what I bet. I bet the over already. I gave it out to my subscribers as a 4% play, and it sounds as square as a box. and I don't care. I bet it, and I was going to bet the over first half as well, but it was 28.5. I was like, if it was 28 or 27.5, I'd have bet that too, as square as it sounds, because like Marco said, Cleveland doesn't play great defense, and we know Kansas City doesn't either. They have the 11th scoring defense in the NFL. It's not like they're a top 5 scoring D. So I think Cleveland's going to be able to put up some points against Kansas City. And I think Kansas City is going to be able to put up their points as well. So I went over, that much. Now, as far as the side, I think this 10 is just way too many points. Even if you factor in the bye and all of that, just take a look at Cleveland. Now, wait, we could argue schedules and strength of schedules and this or that, but they've played 16 regular season games. And you know how many times they were a double-digit dog? 0. You know how many times they were more than a 7-point dog? 0. More than 7. So this is unprecedented territory for them. Now you have a coach and all these players off of the COVID list. I think that's all a positive. Last week, they defied probability. Let's just all admit that. This isn't someone that had Pittsburgh that's salty. They could play that game 100 more times, and it will not play out that way, where they're down 7-0, 30 seconds in, and they're down 14-0, 3 minutes in. That's improbable. And the fact that Mayfield did it, where we already know debut quarterbacks in playoffs, you want to fade them. They're 20% ATS, 25% ATS lifetime. They did all the defiant probability last week. Now, can Kansas City stop the steal this week, or are they just going to keep stealing and thievery? Because they're just ripping everyone off. That's what everyone keeps saying. I'll go with Cleveland, man. I'll take the 10 points. I think that's too many. Now, Kansas City may make me look like a fool. You know, I had them last year for the Super Bowl. I've gotten on board Kansas City. I'm not a hater. And I've seen them flip that switch on, but I haven't seen it this year. Even when opportunity presented itself, like they went to New Orleans and they won the game, well, I didn't see the switch. They went to Tampa Bay, they won the game, but I didn't see that switch that wins by 3 touchdowns, like those years they were more dominant. So not to prolong this, I bet the over already. You already know I like the Cleveland side. I didn't release it. I haven't bet it, so take that as you will. On to the next one.
All right, we are on to the next one. Last but not least, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans come down a little bit from the opener now, -3. Looks like total 52.5 on the WagerTalk odds screen. This is a game I really didn't want to get involved in, and I'll be really honest with you. And the reason why I got involved is because one of my buddies has a bartender at his local pub that he fades. And this guy has been absolutely atrocious. And, well, let's be honest, he took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which seems to be the square dog of the week. So I guess I'm going to be on the New Orleans Saints. It kind of terrifies me here. New Orleans had the Bucs number all season long. I don't think it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season. I do think that that's a narrative we're going to see a lot of talking heads speak about this week. VR, you are our New Orleans Saints resident expert of sorts, so I'm really curious to see what you think about this game.
Yeah, and you got to look at the regular season, but you have to also put it aside because the teams have changed, and this has been an unprecedented year. And even when you look at the Tampa Bay side, now they have Antonio Brown at wide receiver. I mean, what does that do? That makes them more loaded. We already know what Tampa has. We know what New Orleans has. We know how loaded both these teams are offensively. They're both top 5 scoring offenses in the NFL. Defensively, Saints top 5, Tampa Bay 8th. Really impressive. So we know we have 2 very elite teams. We also probably know the spread's right around where it should be. You're not really getting too much line value here. But to me, I think there's value to bet the game, meaning it's the way that the matchup sets up is really good spot for New Orleans to be plus EV on the money line. That's where I think the value lies. Here's why. If they're going to charge you a vig to lay 3, and we know how important 3 is, then you lay the 160, 165 on the money line. At 160, 165, you got to break even's around 62%. I think the Saints win this game outright 2 out of 3 times easily. That gives me a 5% edge. I'd go as far as saying they win this game straight up 3 out of 4 times. That brings me closer to a double-digit edge. Now, that's pretty much unheard of in the NFL, so I don't think it's that high. But I do think there's a lot of value on the Saints on the money line to win this game at home. Here's the fear. We've seen them disappoint in this spot in the past. Saints have had home playoff games where the road was paved to go to the Super Bowl, and they let us down. They let themselves down and weren't able to get it done. But I think that's all baked into the cake. That's where I don't think there's line value. Meaning, I think power rating wise, I think the Saints are a little bit better. I think they're more of a 5.5 point favorite. But I think when you bake into the cake, the Saints haven't been winning those playoff home games. Tampa Bay has been on fire of late. Now has Antonio Brown. Their offense has been clicking. I think the line makes more sense. Otherwise, again, I think it should be closer to that 5.5, even closer to 6. That's why I think Saints money line offers so much value, and that's going to be my best bet. I won't even end the suspense. Saints are going to be my best bet. Listen, they swept the season series. We know historically those teams tend to do well, but that's not even the reason. The reason is this defense will be able to disrupt Tom Brady. Washington didn't do it like some thought they would be able to. I have no doubt New Orleans will do it. Will Tampa have some answers? Probably. Is it going to go down like it did last time in blowout fashion? Probably not. But back-to-back playoff games now. They're on the road. I just think setup-wise, this is a great spot for New Orleans. I'll tell you this with the total. If you like the over and you miss the 50, 51 or so, sit back, sit tight. I got a feeling that Sharps are going to go under in this game. It just seems, now that it's up over that 51 range, the fact that you didn't see it fly a lot higher tells me they're probably going to go under. You have two teams. They usually do that in divisional matchups anyway. Now they're playing a third time playoff game, marquee TV, factor in the bias towards the over, all that stuff. And I think you're going to see some steam on that under. I'm surprised it hasn't come in yet. I don't really have an opinion on the total myself, but I will say I think New Orleans analytics real quickly are a lot more legit. And I'll go as far as saying I think Tampa has been the product of some good luck. They're +8 in turnovers. 5 of those are the result of fumbles. We know how random fumbles are when they hit the ground. So, again, I think it's a little bit skewed. The data on the Tampa side, not so much on the Saints side. This line should be a lot higher. It's not because of the reasons I stated. So on the money line, I love the Saints. I'll save the reasons later. I already gave them now. Saints money line, my best bet for the week.
All right, Marco, VR just made a compelling case to fade the bartender as well. Like I said, I already played the Saints, and I did play them on the money line. I laid 160 in thoughts that, hey, look, this could be a close game. We could see a backdoor cover of sorts, but I do believe he's right when he says the Saints win this game 2 out of 3 times. Now, last week, I did not give this out on the show because I didn't have this brought to my attention, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious, and I have to look it up again. Tom Brady at night. Prior to last week, 0-3-1 against the spread, 1-3 straight up. There is something about a 43-year-old man playing at night. Guess what? Washington football team gets the cover again, and here he is in a nighttime situation, now 0-4-1 against the spread. A, do you buy into that BS small sample size that I think is absolutely hilarious? And 2, who do you like in this game?
Well, what I really loved, Kelly, was whenever you did your analysis on your video that you did on the weekend, you said it was past his bedtime. Us old guys need naps. Come on, give us a break.
I actually did look it up, and it is a thing that Tom Brady says he goes to bed at 8 p.m. He literally said that in an interview, and I'm like, 8 p.m.? It's dinner time. What are you doing? I get it. He's got a very strict health regimen, and there's a reason why he's still in the league at 43.
Yeah, well, you know what? I just think that he's the outlier. That doesn't work for everybody, because I can tell you from all the spring training trips I took with our good buddy Brian Leonard, who was in bed by 9 p.m. every night, he's not an athlete. Let's look at this one. And I'm going to say straight off, we talked about at the top of the show that, hey, we're going to break down all 4 games. We might not have strong opinions on all of them. This is my weakest of the 4, because there are some factors here. You talked about, we're going to hear everybody say about beating the same team 3 times. We hear that way more in college basketball, because a lot of the conferences play twice during the season, and then they have their conference tournament. It's actually a rarity in the NFL for a team to play 3 times. And I asked my buddy this morning, called him and said, "Hey, Ralph, Stat Daddy, run something for me." There's only 7 times, and we're going to be getting the 3rd meeting here. And in those 7, the team that lost the first 2 is 4-3 against the spread. But straight up, the team that won the first 2 went ahead and won the 3rd game 5 out of 7 times. Now let's think about it generally.
Maybe close to that 67 we were talking about.
Yep. And 5-2, actually, where I went to school, would be 71. So you got even a little more added edge there. But it makes sense that, why they win but don't cover, because, Kelly, generally you're going to have these teams in a 3rd meeting. If they beat somebody twice, they're probably going to be a bigger favorite. And you have those instances where they can win and not cover. Here we're talking about a line of 3 that even if you don't go money line, you're generally just asking the team to win the game. So that makes me look at the Saints for sure. Now, the one thing that causes me a little bit of pause is the fact that the 2nd meeting was such an embarrassing loss for Tampa. And that is the only thing that has me not getting to the window yet. I'm not saying I'm not going to get there. I'm saying yet. And I keep thinking about that. And man, Tampa Bay was embarrassed on that Sunday night football game. You want to talk about getting taken out behind the woodshed. The Saints put it on them. And is the one thing that Ace said, this Tampa Bay offense is getting better week by week. And as much as it pains me to say the following statement, Antonio Brown does make this offense better now. It gives him another option. Not that they needed another option, but it makes it tougher for defenses on which guy are you going to double now? Okay. It wasn't Antonio Brown at the beginning because he hadn't played in how long and he didn't know the system. They're starting to get some chemistry, and you got the 2 wideouts. And then let's not forget the security blanket of Tom Brady. When he lies down to take a nap and he gets that blankie is Gronk. Okay. So that's my concern there. But again, I think the Saints are top to bottom the better team. They got the better running game, and you can control a game running the football. That's how you can win the game, keeping Tom Brady off the field. And please, Sean Payton, do me a favor. Can we just put the Taysom Hill trick plays aside? Can we just leave him on the sidelines when you're driving down the field and you get inside the 10-yard line and you take your, a future Hall of Famer off the field to bring Taysom Hill in, and then you screw up the play and, you throw it down away, or worse yet, turn the ball over. Let's not do that, please. It drives me crazy. I don't know what his infatuation is with that, but he does it all the time, and he's not going to stop. But for me, I am looking at the New Orleans side. Do I get to the window? We'll see there. And for Brady and company, last week wasn't a great game. There's no question about that. They had their hands full with Washington. And I thought that the public overreaction from seeing that would have this line come out a little bit higher. I be honest with you, like Ace said, I was shocked that this number's 3. I thought that this number should have been 4.5. And again, it's the Tom Brady factor. We know that everybody loves Brady. He's got all the Super Bowl trophies. Breeze only has the one. But you talked about officiating in the bad breaks that the Saints have had over the years. Last week, man, there was a lot of clamor on Twitter during the Saints game that the Saints were getting every call in that game. You know, maybe the officials, they know this is the swan song for Drew Brees. Maybe in the back of their mind, if there is a close call, it might go, Drew Brees' way, because there's no question they had 2 playoff games taken away from them on, just totally missed calls in the past. And, I'm leaning to the Saints. This is the weakest of the 4 that we talked about.
All right. Thank you, guys. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, it's time for Best Bets.
Marco D'Angelo is off and running in 2021 after a 6-0 sweep on Sunday. Marco is 12-3 overall in 2021, led by his football plays, which are 9-1. Marco's top-rated 5% plays are a perfect 2-0. Marco is offering 45 days of all-access service for the price of 30 days. Marco's 30-day all-access package sells for $349, but this week only, buy a 30-day package and receive an additional 15 days as a free bonus. You'll get every play in every sport from Marco for 45 days for just $349. Hurry, as this deal ends Sunday at midnight.
Welcome in, Mr. Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV on Twitter. Ralph, you put out some incredible data each and every day. Make sure you guys are giving Ralph a follow. Also, Ralph has amazing work he does for free at WagerTalk. He does the college basketball guide, as well as helping out with the Gold Sheet every single day. Ralph tweets out the Gold Sheets play of the day. Been kicking ass and taking names. Ralph, tell me a little bit about TNA for this week in the divisional rounds.
And don't forget the NBA stat sheet, Kelly. It started again this past Monday. So that is every day on my homepage at WagerTalk. Remember this, I'm giving you some numbers. History changed this year because now we have an extra team in, only 1 week's on a bye. So like always, there's many fewer examples that we've had. So use these numbers with caution. Don't base the play on them, but perhaps help you make a play a little stronger. Let's just start with number 1 seeds. Obviously, the only team to get a bye this week are the number 1 seeds. Listen to this disparity. Number 1 seeds in the AFC have gone 12-17 against the spread. Number 1 seeds in the NFC, like Green Bay, have gone 19-11. So, the answer to that, I'm not sure, but again, 12-17 for number 1 seeds in the AFC, 19-11 in the NFC. This one, I'm going to give a shout out to Mark Lawrence in the Playbook newsletter. I took this one from him because it is a wow number. Playoff teams that lost in the conference championship last year, like Green Bay. We always talk about it's a process. Get to the playoffs, get to the championship game, win the championship game. Playoff teams that lost in the conference championship game, like Green Bay, are 33-15 against the spread. And if their opponent is off a double-digit win, like it happens this week, teams like Green Bay, 21-3 against the spread. That's 21 winners, 3 losers. It's happened 24 times when the team's gotten to a conference championship the next year, like Green Bay, and their opponent is off a double-digit win. All right, division dogs, off a wild card upset. We're talking the Rams. We're talking Cleveland. Positive or negative? Teams in the situation like the Rams and Cleveland off a double-digit off a win as a dog, and now a dog again. Only 12-46 straight up, and only 22-36 against the spread.
I knew that was going to be really ugly. The way that you just said it, like it seemed like you're going to be so positive, and I was like, this is going to be a terrible number, isn't it, Ralph?
Well, yeah, pulling an upset is a big deal. We know, again, being from Cleveland, was that a historic win? It absolutely was a historic win. We have all the dynamics.
Why. Not only because you finally won in Pittsburgh, but you finally won a playoff game. But, yeah. I mean, let's say this. I thought that the line was just a little too high and over exaggeration anyway. So had you taken away the home field advantage of Pittsburgh, I wouldn't have said that they were that big of an underdog. Same thing with the Rams, having played just prior. They were just such a small underdog. Had they played in LA, I don't think they would have been. So I do think that there's a little bit of interesting data there versus now they're both sizable underdogs week in the divisional week.
And again, they're playing rested foes, a big difference. So a couple more teams. This is, again, another negative for the Browns. Teams that scored 39 points or more in their last playoff game are only 7-19, 27% against the spread. Teams that allowed 10 points or less, like New Orleans, 52, 31, and 2, 63%. So if you score a lot of points in the playoffs, it's actually a negative the next week. If, like the Saints, you held foes to 10 points or less, it's actually a very big positive at 63%. Couple more. Teams that won at home and did not cover, like Buffalo, have only gone 1-7 straight up, but 6-1-1 against the spread. And this one, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios. This is called data mining, guys. This is me looking at the numbers, pooling out. We have some historical high totals. So playoff totals of 56 or more have gone 6-1 to the over. So you say, okay, the Browns, KC may be in an overplay. But listen to the subset. If I take playoff totals of 48 to 50, they are 21-12 to the over, almost 65%. If I take totals from 51 to 55, they are only 9-18, so 33%. And then 56 or higher, 6-1. So 48 to 50 and 56.5 are over bets, and 51 to 55.5 are 9-18. So that's complete data mining, and you're not really going to take anything out of it. I will say one last thing. Since 2001, playoff teams that won the game have covered 82.3% of the time. That is almost exactly the same as the regular season. Going back since 2016, the last 4 years, the team that has won the game has covered 38 out of 42. But already this time, we've had two games already where the teams did win but did not cover. So this is a very unique season this year because of COVID. So we'll see if that uniqueness carries out, where we may have a historical playoff where there's a lot of teams that are winning the games and not covering, because never, going back since 2000, have 4 teams in an entire playoff situation won their game but not covered. So again, it's a very unique season. Just some numbers for you to maybe help make a bet stronger or perhaps keep you off a game.
Great stuff, as always, from Mr. Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV. Good luck this week, Ralph.
Thanks, guys.
So far in 2021, already ranked number 1 and up 50.20% in profit behind a record of 69.4% winners. Right now, you can lock in all of Ace's plays regardless of sport, even 5% big moves through the Super Bowl for less than the cost of a 30-day pass. To take advantage of this offer, just go to WagerTalk.com. Choose Gianni in the Experts dropdown and lock him through Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, welcome back to Bet On It. It is the time you guys have all been waiting for. It's for this week's best bets. And in per usual fashion, I'm going to go first. Last week we did go 3-0. Let's hope we can keep it going this week. I'm going to take an underdog here that doesn't appear that either of my co-hosts like, but it is what it is. I like the Baltimore Ravens plus 2.5. When it came off that key number of 3, that was really intriguing to me. I said, what did I miss here? I did play them in a teaser with the Packers as well as an open teaser by themselves if I can find another spot, depending on how maybe some of these other games end up moving. Look, this is the Buffalo Bills team that has just been a powerhouse the last few weeks, and they finally got stifled by none other than Phillip Rivers and the Colts. They had a shot to lose that game. And while Marco did say, look, now they got this playoff win. They kind of got that monkey off their back. I don't know if I'm believing it. I felt like that team was really nervous versus Indianapolis, and I know that they were still able to run the ball and still be able to run that prolific offense, but you could kind of tell that they were playing scared. This is the Baltimore Ravens team on the flip side. They got knocked out early last year. Remember, as a 10-point underdog to the Tennessee Titans, and call it what you want, but that was just a really good defensive play. And I do think that the Ravens weren't prepared. I do think this year they are prepared. I do not think that the Bills can stop the run, which means I don't think they can stop Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson plays himself almost perfect game, I do think that the Ravens can get the win here. I know it's going to be cold, as VR mentioned, with the weather. I do think that will be a factor in regards to the total, so keep an eye out there. But Baltimore in a teaser is my favorite play this week. I do think Baltimore plus 2.5, plus a little sprinkle on that money line is worth it as well. Marco, I hate going head-to-head with you, so let's not go to head-to-head on your best bet.
All right, Kelly. I am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we talked about the game, in detail, so I'm not going to go over and over, but I did save a couple nuggets for the best bet part. And the one thing I'm going to say here is for Cleveland, this is going to be their fourth road game in 5 weeks. It's also going to be a team that was just rampaged with COVID, not once, but twice, Kelly. Okay. Remember, they went to the New York Jets a month ago, and, there was question if that game was even going to be played. Then they had, a skeleton roster, and they got beat by the Jets. Now they did the same thing last week. You had players miss the game because of COVID. You had the coaches miss. And those guys are going to come back. Let's throw out one of my old angles. Does it apply here? Can we go injured player theory almost? You had all of those guys. I wish you guys could see Kelly and off the camera whenever we talk and we say something and you see like light bulbs go off or whatever and stuff. But if you got that satisfying win last week and you got it with all people missing, Baker Mayfield met his left guard in the locker room, okay? He had never met him, and that's the guy that's protecting his blind side last week. Do you know how improbable everything that occurred with the Cleveland Browns last week? And God bless them. The town needed to win. They broke the jinx, and they broke it against the team that they wanted to do it against. They got a playoff win and snapped the 17 game. If you can show up this week and bring that same game against the defending Super Bowl champs, then you deserve it and take my money. But I'll be on the Kansas City Chiefs and throw the last stat at you. This year, Cleveland against AFC opponents, just 3-10 against the spread. Kansas City, the last 3 seasons, and remember, they've been horrible against the spread this year. Even being horrible against the spread this year, over the last 3 seasons against the AFC, they're 26-14 against the spread. I'm on the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to lay it. And if the line keeps dropping down, it'll give me opportunities to look at it as far as a teaser as well.
I'm with you, Marco. I think the Chiefs in a teaser look rather intriguing as well, but I don't think we're going to get below that 8.5. VR already alluded to who his best bet was, so I'm sure he's going to keep this one short and sweet. You guys need to rewind. Feel free to do so. VR, who is your best bet for the divisional rounds?
Yeah, and I'll just tighten it all up for you so no one's confused. My best bets, the New Orleans Saints on the money line, minus 165. I think there's a ton of value. Like you said, rewind, you'll find out why. I've released a 4% play on the over 56, Cleveland, Kansas City. I've released a 4% teaser with Alabama with the one leg that cashed. Pending Baltimore plus 8.5, still pending. Going down the list, tighten this up. I lean Rams and under. I'm not sure if I'll get to the window with either or both. Baltimore Buffalo, you already know that. Buffalo money line may be a little bit appealing to me. Lean a little over there, not sure. Cleveland, I like that side. And Tampa Bay, money line, nothing on the total.
All right. We already recapped his plays. Marco's best bet is the Kansas City Chiefs. My best bet is the Baltimore Ravens. Thank you guys for tuning in to Bet on It each and every week from VR, Marco, Ralph, and myself. We'll see you next week. Until then, let's bet on it.
Right now, you can lock in 30 days of any NBA or college basketball plays, including 5% best bets released from your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for just $6.63 per day. A 30-day NBA pass is priced at $189 and a 30-day college basketball pass at $189. But you can get both for only $199. To take advantage of this special offer, just go to WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Choose your favorite handicapper and lock in all basketball action for the next 30 days. Even better, there's no limit to how many handicappers this offer can be redeemed on.